I'm going to be doing my hair. We have things to discuss. Watch this as I get myself ready.
I wish that we could stop celebrating suffering in relationships so much. Sure. Why do I have to suffer for you for 10 years and then all of a sudden it's like in year 11, you love me so much, not because of who I am, but you love me so much that I literally stayed beside you while you were abusing me. Yeah. Why am I glorifying? Why am I glorifying the suffering that you allowed me to encounter for 10 years? And now when it's time for you to celebrate me, you're not celebrating me because you will love me and you value me and you cared for me and you are returning me back to God in a better way than what you found me. But now you're at the place where we are now celebrating my endurance for your suffering. Yeah. We've got to be a culture that stops celebrating that you've got to die in order for us to be able to resurrect this amazing marriage. We die to things like not having self-control. We die to selfishness. Entitlement. We die to entitlement. I don't have to die to your infidelity. Yeah. I don't have to die to your physical and emotional abuse. I don't have to die to those things. Actually, if I die to myself and learn that I'm a girl that I don't love myself, then maybe I would attract someone that would not cheat on me. Maybe I would attract someone who will not beat and abuse me. If I die to my unworthiness, then God is able to resurrect me to someone who is able to love me properly. Ladies, can we please stop celebrating that we have the ability to endure suffering?
Whether you are single, married, with a parent, without, Christian, not, this is a word. This is an absolute word. But especially if within the scenario that she's talking about, those 10 years of suffering, now mind you, it doesn't have to be 10 years. It could be 2, it could be 1, it could be 20, it can be a couple of months. What I'm saying is that once you have children within the scenario of suffering, you're adding more to an equation that was already balanced, that's already imbalanced against you. So let's look at this in levels. 1, let's start at the bottom. Now we're here. Somebody that's already treating you poorly, actively poorly, in dating will not suddenly treat you better when you're married, and especially will not treat you better once you have kids. In fact, the rates of abuse skyrocket, the chance of abuse skyrockets once you're pregnant. Don't believe me? Here's a study. This is from an organization called March of the Dimes, which is all about informing and supporting mothers and babies. And this is what they say here. Abuse often gets worse during pregnancy. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, also called the ACOG, says that 1 in 6 abused women is first abused during pregnancy. I have also seen some studies that have said it's 1 in 5, but let's stick with this. More than 320,000 women are abused by their partners during pregnancy each year. And this is from the NHS, which we all know about. Let's look at that second paragraph, right here. Pregnancy can be a trigger for domestic abuse, and existing abuse may get worse during pregnancy or after giving birth. And let's just say that 10 years of suffering started before you had kids. Let's say that it was bad to begin with, but for whatever reason, you stayed. This is not a blaming the victim thing. Let's just say, because it does require somebody to stay for this, right? It's not going to get better. And assuming that it's going to get better, assuming that this person is going to become a good father, a good husband, a good spouse, a good partner, it's like wishing for what was that Disney movie? It's like wishing for rain in the middle of this drought. Cinderella story. I see you, Hilary Duff. And the concept of struggle love in the midst of this, like, it's seen as something to be. I would like to say that we as a generation, as a society at this point, or in the very least the women, are moving away from this concept of, oh, struggle love, it's so romantic. Oh, we're building something together. Oh, he just doesn't have it right now, but if we struggle through this, then we'll reap the rewards of it after. Leave him. Leave him and don't have children with him. If you don't have it now, who's to say he'll have it tomorrow? Who's to say he'll have it next year? And I'm not just talking financially. If he can't put two words together to say, I'm sad, without punching a wall, without raising his voice, without belittling you in the process, who's to say he's going to have the skills when you have kids? Who's to say that he's going to have the skills when he's 50, 60, 70? Who's to say that he will die without having those skills, right? We can't assume that they're going to grow into something that they have not shown us they already have at this point. This is not to say that people can't grow. I am just uninterested in growing and building a man. Because once you open that door to grow them, to build them, it's showing you that they are lacking something very important to you, that you know that you have to cultivate in them, or that you can try to cultivate in them, so that way they could eventually have this important thing in a relationship. Not just for you, but it could just be like in general, right? Communication skills kind of a thing, right? Or something as specific as how you want them to love you. You could try and grow that in them, but if they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it. They could put on a nice facade. But that just adds into elongating that 10 years of suffering, because they're doing something that they don't want to do. And this is a concept that, I don't know if Princella has said it word for word, but she says some crazy, not some crazy things. She says some things on her channel, but I'm a watch. And we need to listen to men. We need to listen to men. We need to listen to them, and we need to believe them when they say their truth. Not try and correct them, not try and teach them something. I mean, there's like one in maybe 2 in every 1,000 that actually want to change, to grow, to not enter a conversation to be proven right about how big and strong and manly and masculine they are, ooga booga, right? But we really need to listen to them because they will tell you their truth. They will tell you how they will treat you. It happens in my comment section all the time. And the more we listen to them, the more that we can make a choice. As best as we can. Not everybody's in this position. Some people are like, sometimes it's your father, sometimes it's you're already married to a man, right? And not to say that you can't leave. What is this? Not to say that you can't leave at some point, but it takes planning, right? That 10 years of suffering really stuck with me, and the fact that there's a lot of women that feel like they have to persevere through it, that there's going to be a rainbow at the end of the road, that there's going to be a pot of gold with their name on it, that treasured wife position will eventually be theirs, and it won't. If you get emotionally kicked in the throat for 10 years and you're assuming that there's a treasure at the end of it, he never said there's a treasure at the end of it. You might be watching content showing people, or listening to content, or hearing stories about people, especially in the church. I grew up Pentecostal. I've seen struggle love. They're still struggling. And I'm going to be 32 this year. And I grew up in the church. And there were Sunday school teachers and Sunday school couples that were struggling then, and they are still struggling now. Why? Leave. If you can, leave. If you can't leave right now, just try to start making a plan. Because 10 bad years now becomes 15 bad years, becomes 20 bad years, and you're waiting for the coin to flip. You're waiting to see the other side. But here's the thing, that coin can just keep getting bigger. There's a lot of money in the world. Doesn't necessarily mean that most people will see the positive end of it, The coin can just keep growing. The sad can just keep growing. The disappointment can just keep growing. And what this lady says at the end, wait a second. I was getting a call. But let's just say that what that lady said at the very end is the crux of the matter, right? Between staying with them, between getting with them, between the difference is the focus of it is not them. right? Them is over there. The focus is you and growing in self-love and self-determination, in your sense of identity, autonomy, of how happy you are with yourself, with your passions, with your dreams. The more that you love yourself, the harder it is to stay in a position of struggle love, right? And I hate that we shouldn't throw the word love in there. This struggle relationships, right? Because, ooh, and yes, it's always harder to leave with kids. Kids make things like, yes, we love the babies. I love the babies. Do I want them? No. This is what most of this channel is about. It's harder to leave when you have kids. It's just harder to leave when you have kids, because there's more people to take into consideration, but also a lot of the times it's like, oh, the father of my children. Oh my gosh, am I gonna hurt my kids in the process? Is this going to cause like irreparable damage? Listen, my mom left my dad, and thank God. Thank Jeebus. The way that my life would have spiraled out of control if she tried to stick it through, if she tried to make it work for the idea of the nuclear family. My mom chose herself. She chose us. She chose me and my little brother, and she chose herself. And she found community. And I had male role models in my life. I had big brothers, little brothers, not by blood, but now they're basically family. Kind of stuck with them. I haven't talked to some of them in a while, but basically family. And we were able to create this community that didn't involve struggling for love. There's more kinds of love out there that when it comes to like child rearing than just the nuclear family. A lot of dads cause more damage in the house. Period. That's a full statement. A lot of dads cause more damage when they are in the house. And in the same way that you can't just imagine them to be a better husband one day, you can't just imagine them to be a better father one day. You want more evidence of that? Watch Super Nanny. Watch Super Nanny. It's somewhere on YouTube. There's countless episodes of it. One, Joe, you're doing the Lord's work. You're doing the Lord's work, and people don't. When it comes to parenting 101, mind you, childless woman, I think. I won't look that up. But she's a super nanny. She spent her career doing nannying. So she has decades worth of experience in child rearing. As I said in another video, it is very important to build. Childless people help to build society. They are necessary for a healthy society. Joe, I love you. If you're watching this, I support you. Anyway, if you want countless examples of how men don't realize that in them perpetuating the idea of struggling with their wives, they can unintentionally do that with their children also. Kids don't need to struggle to learn something. It just builds trauma. Hurt people hurt more people. It doesn't all of a sudden grow empathy one day. Same thing with your marriage. Like you, hypothetical you, with relationships, with friendships, like staying in a struggle love situation doesn't necessarily grow your empathy, grow your understanding, grow your compassion. It just grows your hurt. And yeah, ideally at the end of it, once you leave and go to therapy and like start rebuilding all of these broken parts and sad parts and then you could start to look at all of those pieces that are now coming together and say, oh, I think I can make better decisions because now I'm coming from a place of healing. Okay, not everybody does that. A lot of people just stay in the hurt and then they enter another relationship and hurt more people. All I'm saying, struggle love. It's not for anybody. It's not for anybody. Definitely not for me. I don't see the cute in it. It don't help nobody. And if you are in a struggle love relationship, and you have children, I pity you. I feel pity might be a strong word. I think it still sits. I am very sorry if that is your situation. You can still leave. You can still leave. You can still choose you at the end of the day. There's always tomorrow, and tomorrow always leads to a space for you to make another choice. Doesn't mean that you have to leave them immediately tomorrow, because once again, you got kids, you got more people to take into consideration, but like, you can always make another choice. You can always choose you tomorrow. You can choose you in the next 5 minutes. That's all I'm saying. All right. Like, share, subscribe, all those great things. All right. My